Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning trading session. Made it to the end of another work week. Woohoo! Let's see if we can't pick up a couple decent trades here. So the market just opened up. What you're looking at here are the NASDAQ charts. Of course, I'd be happy to take a look at any market which is of interest to you, so please let me know. The NASDAQ happens to be a personal favorite of mine, but this is your trading room also. So if you have any questions or need me to look at something for you, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, let's take a look. Like I said, the market just opened up. Let's take a look at the overnight, and you can see it was fairly active. The Asian session was especially busy. So we saw a little bit of a run up. And actually we closed somewhere around 41.30, so the market has made quite a bit of progress. It's going to be a huge opening gap below the market here. So it will be interesting to see whether or not they try to get into that gap or whether they're going to treat it more like an acceleration gap and just keep going from there. But we need a few moments for the dust to settle. You can see here we've got the hawk very much in consolidation mode, all these yellow bars. If you were really, well, I don't want to say desperate for a trade, but anxious for a trade, if you really wanted to get in early, you could think about selling this red bar buy failure. In other words, we'd be looking for it to head lower off of the red bar buy falling apart. But if the market heads lower, we should see at least one or two opportunities to get into a trade. Right now, everything very, very sideways. Crude oil also making a big run up in the overnight. And gold, well, gold's still kind of stuck in a sideways pattern also. Here's gold on the Falcon while we're waiting. And let's see, gold opened right about here. So we had a late filter entry right out of the open with gold a few minutes after it opened. It fell off, and now we're kind of just floundering a little bit. You see our filter is starting to look like a checkerboard, the trend line waffling back and forth. And that's not what we want to see. And that shows us a market that's pretty much stuck in a trading range. As is the case with the NQ right now. But like I said, it's still early. Well, so long as we're seeing yellow bars here, there's not much going on. Nice tiny opening range. Let's take a look here on the Raptor. We'll tee up our Raptor trader. And yeah, here we are, the highs and the lows. Now, you know, the interesting thing you can do too, when the market is range bound like this, is you can always bracket the range as well. And with the Raptor, we don't have an OCO function, so you have to do it the old-fashioned way. So you could bracket the lows and you could bracket the highs. Or I should say with the Trailblazer, we don't have the OCO function. All right, the market's moving away a little bit, so I'll bring that down now to enter on a move below the low. It's kind of a soft edge sell, but really all I'm doing is bracketing the trading range. All right, so we're filled to the upside. To the downside. I'm gonna cancel the order to the upside, and I'm gonna get a stop loss going here. We'll use the swing to start. There we go. Come on. Don't be looking back too far. They did look back too far. I guess I should have placed my stop well above this high here. Well, that's the thing with breakout trades too, right? They do tend to fail, which is why when we're looking at a trading range, I usually tell you that what we want is we want to let the market break and then retest. Once we get that retest, then we're in a better position to sell. Had a trading friend who always said, never trust a breakout. And that's why we allow the market to break out, come back, retest it, retest that breakout zone, and then look for that buy or sell signal. Oops. Oh, well, wasn't that unfortunate? It looks like they just rallied enough to tag my stop. I should have placed my stop just a few ticks further, and we would have been okay. Hate it when that happens. All right, so it looks like, oh, sorry, while I was messing around with the Raptor, we did get another red bar buy failure. Now we're looking at our first micro-macro cross. The problem with this first micro-macro cross is where do we cover the position, right? It's turning now into a macro pullback, so we'll look at redoing this. And we'll enter now like so. A lot of times when you're looking for a place to cover your trade, if you look at where the crest is on the macro line, that's usually as good a place as any. If there's nothing else nearby that you can use, that will usually work for you. Still very much a sideways market. Let's see if we've gotten that retest yet. Well, kind of. So if we were looking at the support to fall right here, right? We've had the breakout. Here's the retest, and now here comes our sell signal. So we could consider shorting the Raptor off this signal right here. Now, hopefully this one's going to have a little bit better follow through than the last one did. Okay, I know that's a huge stop, but I fully intend to adjust it here in a moment. Good morning, Jim. Jim giving us some advanced decline numbers here. He says there's 2,600 on the buy and only 162 on the sell. Remember, though, the huge opening gap that we have in the market is going to skew these figures. So don't get too excited about the very bullish sounding advanced decline. Come on, get down there. Oops. I do believe our hawk trade has already hit its profit objective. Yes, it did. Oh, and look at that. We got a little bit of positive slippage to boot. Market came down very fast off of this macro pullback signal, producing another macro pullback signal. I'm not liking all these pullbacks into the macro line and these repeating signals. That is a little bit a sign of weakness. Oh, see? Now that's twice. That's twice they did that to me on the Raptor. Well, the first time was just a premature breakout, but this one should have had better follow through to it. Are they going to be like that today, or are they just going to put in these enormous ranges? All right, well, we got a little bit of work to do there on the Raptor. Getting a possible trend change signal here on the Falcon. I'm not sure we have a trend yet. All right, well, what I might do is look at just taking a single on this one. We do have a chance at a second push on this entry. And what I'd be looking for here is just, a little bit of a rally, perhaps back to the highs. The market is very much sideways, folks. So until we really see a direction here, all these types of trades are really going to be a bit of a gamble. I was going to say, let me take a look at the trade forecaster. I bet you we're in scalp mode, and sure enough, we are. We're in full-on scalp mode for about another 20 minutes, according to the trade forecaster. And you can tell that because the lack of follow-through, the large ranges, it's just making trading very difficult. All right, so here with our Falcon now, you see how this bar has this big tail on it? That's a recommitment on the part of the buyers to try to rally the market. So this is probably a good spot to roll your stops. Now hopefully we'll get a little bit of a swing here. And if I don't get stopped out, I'll take a look at perhaps using a more aggressive stop strategy, like the bar high low. No. See, they're just not willing to commit to anything. No, it's very much a sideways type of day today. Now, that was not a bad trade. You know, we handled that one pretty well. It was a proper trend change signal. The market failed to go to the downside, so we tried going to the upside, and we really controlled our risk well. We only threw in a onesie. We rolled up our stops. What did we get tagged for? So for $85, it was worth a try. You know, it's the type of trade that isn't going to bankrupt you, and there was a reasonable chance that the trade would continue higher. But now that it's failed to the upside and not, well, sort of reluctant to go to the downside, I think we pretty much know that this is going to be a sideways type of session, at least for the first little while. Yeah, like David says, not much mojo today. No, not compared to what we've been seeing anyways. Yeah, I'd be reluctant to honestly do anything until we get outside this trading range. You see here, even with the hawk, a lot of yellow bars, a lot of overlapping, a lot of sideways action. James is watching the oil and the DAX. He says those tend to trigger the market. Yeah, sometimes. There was a while there where, well, I would watch crude oil as a confirmation tool for the stock market, and I would also watch the 30-year bond, because the 30-year bond tends to move opposite to what's going on in the stock market. So if the market was rallying and the bonds were falling, then I know that the rally would be sustained. If the market was rallying and the bonds didn't budge, then I'd have a pretty good idea that the market wasn't going anywhere. There would be the odd time where the bonds and the market would both rally or decline at the same time. And crude oil used to do a different thing, but crude oil is more in sync, or tends to be more in sync with the stock market. So if crude oil prices are rising, you expect the stock market to rise. If crude oil prices are falling, you expect the stock market to fall. All right, well, now we're outside of this trading range. It looks as though we may actually be in an uptrend again today. Yeah, Tony says, darn it, the cost of the barrel is more than the oil in it. There was, well, when oil was getting down to, what was it, about $25 a barrel? I forget where it bottomed out anyways. If people were saying you could buy a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, it costs you more than a barrel of oil. All right, so we've seen the breakout to the upside now, and let's see whether that breakout holds. So looking for a retest, you can, um, well, we don't have any signal developing yet, but you can take a signal off of a trade that is rallying like this. The problem is you're buying at the top end of a range, right? If you look at the market kind of like, well, you know, what if this were a bear flag? Well, then you would want to sell. You wouldn't necessarily want to buy at the top of a trading range like this because the market could reverse on you. Just another reason to wait for that retest, right? Let it come down, let it retest, let the market show you that the buyers are truly interested in rallying this market, and then we'll hop on board. And I'll try to be a little bit more selective here. Everybody's really just stuck sideways. But the market has been busy. It shouldn't be too unusual to expect a quiet session going into the weekend. Here's crude oil. It has since given us a trend change signal. Here's the down, here's the up, here's the down. The trend line changes color. Filter is in sync. We do have a chance at a second push on this one. I don't know if I can cover it above the high. Nope, can't. So let's try this. Yes, I can do it to the crest in the trend line, which will also get us above these highs right here. That's an interesting proposition for crude oil. Don't have the first micro-macro cross yet on the hawk for crude, and here's crude on the eagle. You can see that trade that I just posted on the Falcon would bring us back here into the hard edge, providing the market continues lower from here. And from the eagle trade, you can also see that, you know, we're very much in an uptrend with crude right now. So technically that trend change signal on the Falcon is a counter trend signal. All right, just waiting for a second here, doing a little housekeeping. All right, we've since had a macro pullback signal. And now we've got a second macro pullback signal. So we tend to only see two macro pullbacks within a trend. If the market's trending very strong, of course, we can get more, but it should make you a little bit suspicious. Let's see if we're going to get that signal here on the Falcon. We do. We've got our trend line touch signal now, and we have an opportunity to enter it on a second push and cover below that swing. Again, this is kind of buying near the top end of the trading range, which is why I'm putting my entry above the high. I definitely do not want to get in too early here. Alright, so I think we can safely cancel this signal for now. Coming back here on the hawk with a red bar buy, which tends to develop toward the end of the trend. Now with the red bar buy, you have the option of buying it higher, you have the option of shorting it, or you have the option of just using it as a early warning that perhaps a trend change is coming. So if we're going to use it as a failure signal, the nice thing about doing it counter trend is that you can cover your trade above the highs. Jim says he's watching his DAX chart and he's getting a lot of wicks on his 3-minute chart, which would suggest weakness, actually. Yeah, not anymore, he says. No. It's tough today. It really is. That big opening gap is giving us pause, or giving the market pause anyways. We should get some direction shortly, though. Interesting opportunity here on crude on the Eagle. We're getting just a regular buy signal coming out of the cloud. We're currently against the ATR. Still full on scalp mode in crude for, at least according to Trade Forecaster, for another half an hour. But if the market rallies here and closes at the high, it will flip the ATR over. Which would mean that our buy signal would be right about there. That's the problem with crude trying to cover this thing. Shoot, can't even do it down there. Do I have to trail it one bar back? Yeah, that's it, pretty much right there. So there's a possible buy signal for crude on the Eagle. The NQ actually making a very nice progression today, but this is like it was the other day. Tough to get in. Tough to get in and stay in. It's almost like you got to run these huge, huge stops. All right. Well, they're starting to weaken somewhat, or maybe just go sideways again. It's hard to tell at this point. Well, a few more minutes here, and we should get something tradable. It looks as though this upward momentum is slowing somewhat. Here you can see on the Hawk, nice progression, red bar buy signal. This one just a little bit shy of a red bar buy into yellow bars, so we're not too interested in it. Now it looks like we're testing the highs, so this will be our test of the extreme. And if it folds over on itself here, we might actually see the market reverse. The hard thing with these test and retest things that I keep talking about. So here's the top end of the trading range where the market broke out. This was actually a decent retest right here, but let's pretend for a moment that we didn't get this retest and we're waiting for the market. Let's watch it here. I bet you dollars to donuts, it's going to come down here and give us another opportunity. Right now with the Raptor, we've actually are in the neighborhood of producing a soft edge sell because we've got the high, we've got the retest now. If they come back with a sell signal here, we can fully expect the market to perhaps retrace into the lows or, pardon me, into the hard edge. The Geiger counter's still showing through the orders on the upside, though. Is this a double pullback? It's hard to say. All right, we'll put that away for the moment. A lot of yellow bars back here in the Hawk. The filter on the Falcon breaking up quite a bit. A lot of volume coming into these bars. You see the width of these bars now? If we go back here now to the Raptor. So we continue to retest the highs, wedging up a little bit. Yes, Tony, you're very correct in your assessment. Tony says, I know that you have to make the room interesting, but today, at least so far, it's been a sit on your hands kind of day for me. I can't seem to catch any moves. No, you're absolutely right. Sitting on your hands is a good place to be today. We do have a test here, though. Um, I'm going to throw this in for the room's sake to see if we can't get the breakdown of this soft edge sell to take us here into the hard edge. But no, you're absolutely correct. I suspect we'll get something decent to trade. Where are we now? We're at the top of the hour. Probably in another 10 or 15 minutes, something should shake loose. And if it looks especially promising, I will let you know. Or if I think it looks especially promising. I haven't perfected my time machine yet, so it's hard for me to say with any real certainty where the market is going to go next. All right, let's try this one more time. And don't you guys dare stop me out. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to roll above the contract high or the current high. There we go. I'm not going to get whipped on one of these little premature little stop out thingies. Crude oil is backing off of our order that we were looking at doing here. So you can probably cancel that. Yes, we did a trading room for a while where people were after me to trade, trade like you really trade. I didn't say a whole lot for the hour and a half. There was a whole lot of silence. No, David, I don't think there are any reports out today. I haven't checked the report schedule, but that definitely would account for the way the day is going. Yeah, Ryman says no reports for the day right now. Yeah, which would account for just this back and forth kind of nonsense that we're seeing. All right, well, it's almost put up or shut up time for the market. Opening range has expired, and they put in a little bit of a rally, but they really need to get their act together now. All right, so, shoot, this is the thing with taking counter trend signals. I can't take the with trend signal now, so, well, we'll let that Raptor trade go, but everything's starting to look a little bit more solid on the other tools. So we've got a buy signal here, and am I going to get a second chance at that one? No, I'm not. Where's the first micro macro cross? There you are. Okay, so now this one's actually looking like it has some promise to it. The market, has been reluctant to go higher. It's been reluctant to go lower, and here they've kind of recommitted to the upside. Let's see if we can't get some follow through out of these scoundrels. I think they slipped us a little bit on that one. Come on. Oh, you know what, Richard? I bet you're right. Richard says forecasted storms in the mid-Atlantic may have scared some New York traders away ahead of the weekend. That could very well be true. We've got a trend change signal here on the Falcon. I'm looking at it. So we've got a buy opportunity here also. Yeah, it's supposed to be a huge storm. I saw it on the news last night. For those of you living out that way, it's looking like you're going to get slammed this weekend. Brian says, wimps. Oh, no. So our hawk trade, good trade, but we got tagged on the break even with the market whipsawing back and forth, but at least it was break even. Broker gets his. And Brian says, I live in Breckenridge, Colorado. We've had 165 inches of snow so far. That's a lot. Tony says, you ain't ever met snow until you've been to Moose Jaw. Yeah, that's true. They get their fair share. My wife used to have a business renting ski accommodations at the local ski resort on Mount Washington. And one year, I forget exactly how much snow we had, but they had so much snow that going up the main chairlift, and you guys know how high a chairlift is, going up the main chairlift, there were places where your skis would touch. So here our Falcon trade has just given a late filter entry signal also. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more follow through off this now. This might also be time to start considering rolling the stops because the buyers have recommitted. You could roll your stop right below here, or if you wanted to offer up a couple extra ticks, you could put it below this one right here. To me, there's nothing worse than getting stopped out by one tick only to have the market reverse on you and continue in the direction it was supposed to. Yeah, that year that we had so much snow on Mount Washington, they actually had to truck snow off of the mountain. That's how much there was. And then the very next year, they didn't have enough snow to open for Christmas. So cool figure. Tony asked Eric, if you want to see the opening gap, do you set your parameters to 24.5? No, you would actually set your parameters to, hold on a second here. You go to your data series and your session template, you would use, well, there's several you could use here. It used to be that if you use the instrument settings, you would automatically get just the day session, but I think they've since changed that to be the 24-hour session. So that won't show you the gap. I think you got to go right down here to the bottom. You could do US equities, regular trading hours. And there's another one in here, the CME index futures, regular trading hours. That will also give you the opening range gap. You could also use the global index, regular trading hours, but anything that ends regular trading hours is what you're interested in. The 24/5 template, all that does is it ignores the Sunday morning Globex open. Yeah, Jim says, how many more minutes till the Chop Fest is over? I don't know, my friend. I think we're in it today. Come on, keep pushing. Jim says the Russell is starting to weaken, so some of the stock indices showing a little bit of sideways action again. You can tell just by looking at the charts, though, right? Well, this isn't a very clean chart. Lots of choppiness on it. Kind of getting a little bit of a breakdown here. First, or pardon me, a red bar buy signal flashed there for just a moment. We don't have a real good retest of the highs, so it'd be interesting to try to capture a pullback through here. now we're getting the first micro macro cross lower. I know I always tell you this is such a high probability signal, and it is, but what we want to do is, we haven't seen the test of the extreme. If we're going to look at taking this, I would probably reserve my entry and really keep my stop far back. All right, so now we got a chance to adjust this first micro macro cross a little bit. Still want to keep my stop back. Oh, way to go, Jim. Jim says, okay, he nailed another short for another 20 ticks. He's now 120 ticks on the day. Good man. Not easy to do on a day like today. Not at all. All right, so here comes now that test of the extreme. Our first micro macro cross signal has been spoiled. So we can take that off of the board. Yellow bars, of course. No. Jim says his nerves are a little shot after trading today. Yeah, I don't doubt that for a sec. Okay, possible, very possible, trend change signal / late filter entry signal. All right, so what are they gonna do here? Are they gonna give me a second push on this one? All right, so I'm gonna set it below the low of this bar. Here we go, give myself a chance. All right, so here they come again. At our Falcon, we're getting a couple of late filter entry signals here in a row. You can kind of treat them all as the same signal. And what we're looking at is just pretty much for the market to recommit to the downside, which hopefully it's done at this point. And you know what? I might go with a more aggressive bar high-low strategy, especially if we get a little bit of momentum here. If I take out this low, we'll switch into the bar high low. Well, that's a good way to end the week, Jim. Jim says he's done. He says his stats for the week, 64.29% wins on the longs, 67.96% wins on the shorts. That's pretty precise there. But here's the important number. He's up 910 ticks. He says the DTS system works great. Indicator Warehouse has opened up my paradigm on trading successfully. Well, way to go, Jim. You're the guy who did all the hard work. You're the one who deserves the pat on the back. Yeah, you're getting a lot of positive comments here, Jim. Everybody in the room is congratulating you. Well done. Okay, I'll give myself just a couple of ticks here above this high, above this swing high. If it breaks that swing high, we'll probably see it rally. At least, well, at the very least, back to this high here. Come on, just take out this little itty bitty swing low. It won't hurt. This one here around 42.29 is really the big one. That's the one we need to see the market break. David says, I miss volatility. Careful what you wish for there, Dave. It's coming. Don't worry about that. All right, here they come. All right, they're kissing this first little swing low. Let's take that one out. Come on. You can do it. Oh, whew. Okay, we're through that one. Now the big one here at 42.29. That's the one that's going to offer up some serious support to the marketplace. Wow. Okay, this is not good. All this sideways action. There's not much going on. It's the bottom of the hour. Yeah, you know what? Jim's got the right idea. Just pack it in early, especially if you're in the black. We'll give it another 15 minutes or so, and then we might scrub it as well. Yeah, here they come. They're going right back to the highs. It's just such a whipsaw type of day, right? The market comes down, engages a few orders, goes up, engages a few orders, comes back down. So yeah, not a fun day to trade. So we got stopped there on that reversal. And then here they come again, back to the other side. All right, well, I've just about had my fill. Yeah, it sure is. Tony says the NASDAQ is sure respecting that resistance line at 42.41. It most certainly is. And yet, you know, the market overall is quite bullish. Look at this. We're 3 zones in above the primary resistance. Yeah, the ranges are just so big today. It's really hard to play. We'll give it a few more minutes here, but I honestly don't see anything else cropping up. There's too much sideways action. See here, the hawk shows it very plainly. Prices just back and forth, back and forth. No real gains or declines. It's just sideways. And whenever prices are overlapping like this, we get all these yellow bars forming more or less the same latitude. Really, really tough trading. All right, you guys, you know what? It doesn't look like much is going to be going on today. If you are going to be hanging out the rest of the session, well, I can't help but think that the opening gap is going to be calling to the market, and maybe we'll see prices head lower. But don't be surprised if it just keeps going sideways. So why don't we knock off early, and we'll get back at it again on Monday morning, bright and early. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a very nice weekend. We'll see you guys later. Bye for now.